a lot of people often think about getting media pickup, and that brings in new customers and that brings in new leads. But you can also take the value of these media articles and share them with your social media, with your existing leads, and it will increase your conversion rate. Share them with your customers, it will reduce churn. There's nothing worse than having a good customer, someone else takes over that role, and the person's like, well, I'm not sure if this is the right company we should be using, so maybe I should mix it up and try someone new. But if they see you in an article and that you're getting media and industry recognition, they're going to say, hey, I'm not going to screw this up. This is obviously the right person to work with, and we'll continue to work with them.
Well, welcome to the Build It to Billions podcast, where we guide successful entrepreneurs and investors on their journey from millions to billions. We believe the key to scaling and compounding your wealth and life starts every single day with the mindset and practice of stewardship over ownership and applying billionaire biblical principles. Our ultimate goal is to help you scale and compound your wealth and life so you can give more, all of it away to help MVPs. My name is Brett Swartz. Each and every episode, we're joined by some of the world's top entrepreneurs, millionaires, or billionaires, and they share their secrets, insights, and wisdom with us so we can all scale up and make a bigger impact. I'm excited about our next guest. He's out of the Maryland, Baltimore area, and he is the founder of eReleases, a leading press release distribution service that helps small businesses, startups, and authors gain national media exposure. With over 25 plus years in the industry, he has built eReleases to bridge the gap between businesses and journalists, providing an affordable way to secure real press coverage. Please welcome to the show with me, Mr. Mickie Kennedy. Mickie, how are we doing?
Good. Glad to be here.
Excellent. For our listeners getting to know you for the first time, would you give us a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Sure. So I started eReleases, I guess, back in 1998. I was stumbled into PR working at a telecom research firm. I was employee number 3, so I had to wear a lot of hats, and one of them was getting out press releases, which we were doing by fax. And I was spending an entire day sending out each release and programming the fax machine and hitting send, and not a lot was happening. And I felt like we got to figure out how to make these press releases work for us if we're going to devote so much time to it. And I looked at trade journals and articles and realized that journalists really like a story arc. And I realized that we were providing data, but we weren't really putting a story around it. And so once we changed that, we started getting amazing pickup. We had just published Caribbean telecom traffic numbers, and one of them was a big outlier. I can't remember the country. It was a minor one and not a common one. But it had more traffic than all of the others combined, and it turned out that that was the call center for which all 1-900 numbers were routed. And so we shared the data. We talked about the 1-900 industry, and that got picked up by the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, The Economist, Financial Times, and several telecom trade publications. And so I continued to do that, and I saw a shift where people started to request that we email them instead of faxing them, and that was sort of the idea for eReleases. So we originally started by emailing press releases, and today media databases have kind of ruined that market, and email's not a very effective way for reaching journalists, so we've migrated to working with PR Newswire, which is the oldest and largest newswire in the U.S. And there's largely a duopoly of press release newswires. It's Business Wire and PR Newswire. You don't need both, but you need to be on one of them. And that's where most journalists are actively looking for news and criteria, because unlike your inbox, it's very clean there. So if someone covers a particular industry, they can look at that feed, and they can even customize the feed by excluding certain keywords or making sure that stuff gets pinned that includes certain keywords. So it's a very clean place for them to look for news and hunt for news. And they have less time today and are asked to do even more because the budgets at newspapers aren't what they used to be. So it's really the greatest place for which journalists are actually hunting for material.
Okay, hey, got it all. Thank you so much, Mickie. That was amazing. So, by the way, if you want to learn more about this, you guys can all go to eReleases.com. That's eReleases.com, and to get started. So, let's start with this, Mickie. What's the number one secret for the entrepreneur, the journalist, the business owner that wants to use your service and really get their name and their product out?
I think the first is don't approach it as what's you're wanting to necessarily announce. I get it that you have a milestone or something that you want to announce to the media, but what you have to do is you have to reverse engineer how to make it irresistible to the media. Like basically, what can you put in that press release that will make it of more of interest to their audience and that a journalist will want to share it with their audience? It could be educational, entertainment, sometimes a combination of both. A lot of times breaking down the human interest element, if there's something there that could be aligned. Use case studies work really well. We get a lot of product and service launches, and they usually are just a roundup of features, and it's very little for a journalist to write a story arc. But if you have a use case study where someone had a problem, they used your beta tested your solution, and they had a physical outcome with numbers, and then you have a quote by them, that creates more drama and more of a compelling story arc, and a journalist will be more likely to cover your product or service launch as a result. And so, I tell people sometimes it's like putting the pill in the cheese. If you've ever had pets that you're trying to get them to swallow, sometimes you have something that's really important, but you have to surround it with something that's going to be really tantalizing and make the media want to share it with their audience. And so, put your creative mind to work and really try to think of some of those solutions and some of those ways to approach it.
Okay, I absolutely love that. It makes perfect sense. But it's probably it's not necessarily executed very well. And so the key here is, how do I approach this that the journalist feels it's irresistible, that they cannot not share it with their audience? So really, you're writing it to the journalist, right? That's who you're writing it for. And then I love using case studies. Because story and real actual transformation is what I think journalists are looking for, right? To get people to make changes, take action, get inspired. So can you give us a example of this that was used really effectively with your service? And let's see where this goes.
Sure. So I had a client in New Jersey that was a carpet company, and they approached me one year and said, "We have a budget to do a press release a month for a year, and you guys write it and do everything." And I'm just like, I don't know that this is going to be effective for you. And they're like, "Well, if you don't take the money, we're going to find someone else that will." So I worked with them, and 4 or 5 months, nothing happened. And I, did a brainstorm session with them, trying to talk through different approaches. And it came out when I asked who their biggest enemy was, that it wasn't like Todd's Rug Emporium across the street. It was the big box home improvement stores, and they were able to articulate why they're so bad for the carpet industry. One being of which the carpet is usually a pretty solid carpet, but the padding is usually not. And according to them, the life of a carpet is really the padding. And then secondly, they just call who has a home improvement license and say, "Hey, we have 2,400 square feet to install tomorrow. Are you available?" And if you reach a roofer who has a home improvement license and he doesn't have any work tomorrow, he might be installing your carpet and looking on YouTube of how the heck can I do this with just a crowbar or something, and try to get it done. And so we were able to send out releases around that, and all of a sudden they got picked up in all their floor trade industry publications. It went very well. At the end of a year, I think we had over 20 or 30 clips that they had gotten picked up. Only one was in their local newspaper and New Jersey Magazine, which is a high-end consumer magazine that was really relevant for them. So I was a little worried, hey, you got all this pickup in trade publications that none of your customers ever read, but they had already thought that through, and they had built these brag books where they downloaded and printed out all of their media mentions, and they're like, every time they give a consultation, they say, "Hey, we may not come in the cheapest, but we stand by our service. We know what we're doing. Here we are in Floor Trade Weekly. Here we are in this place." And just by adding that extra 30 seconds to the conversation and letting them just quickly browse through the logos and the articles, they started converting close to 17% more of those consultations, that they were converting those. And so that made a huge difference for them, and something that they were able to take with them and make part of their sales process. And a lot of people often think about getting media pickup, and that brings in new customers and that brings in new leads, but you can also take the value of these media articles and share them with your social media, with your existing leads, and it will increase your conversion rate. Share them with your customers. It will reduce churn. There's nothing worse than having a good customer, someone else takes over that role, and the person's like, well, I'm not sure if this is the right company we should be using, so maybe I should mix it up and try someone new. But if they see you in an article and that you're getting media and industry recognition, they're going to say, hey, I'm not going to screw this up. This is obviously the right person to work with, and we'll continue to work with them.
Wow. Okay. So much there. Love how you broke that down. That brought it to life for sure. So I like the question you asked when you sat down with them. It's like, who is the biggest enemy, right? And I think it's not who they thought it would be, or maybe the journalist who thought it would be. It was somebody else, and it was the big box, right? And then why are they so bad, right? So really, educating the consumer, right? And then really, where's the value? I think oftentimes the best companies, right? It's kind of like Steve Jobs said, like they find the things that are most valuable even when someone else is not aware of it, right? And then they're like, oh, okay, yeah. Now that you brought that to my awareness, to my attention, it is the most valuable. It was maybe hidden in plain sight, if you will. And so figuring out what's the value or the life of it, bringing that together in a story, right? And boom, that tends to be the effective ways to do this. Is that a fair summary?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, great. What's the next secret to making this happen when people are working with you, Mickie?
Is just to commit to a PR campaign. I've had a lot of people who are like tire kickers. They do one press release, didn't do anything, and they move on. And a PR campaign, any publicist or PR professional will tell you, is like 6 to 8 releases. And you're lucky to have 2 or 3 of those generate earned media. And so you really have to be creative. You have to try different approaches, and just stay committed to it, because all it takes is like really one solid pickup to make a meaningful difference to a company. We had a waste management company that builds waste facilities and recycling facilities. They do everything. Like they come in, city hires them, and they design and build everything from the ground up. And they got article in Waste Management News, which was a trade publication. And they were contacted by a city in Australia and said, do you do this internationally? And they said, yeah, we actually put a lot of stuff on boats and send it to the West Coast. We send it to the East Coast. We send it to India. We build facilities everywhere. They ended up doing 3 cities in Australia, I think over $40 million in money from just one article. And, that's a crazy example, but those type of things happen quite a bit. And, if they had done the first release didn't generate anything and stopped, just think of what would have been lost. Altogether they did, I think around, at that time, they had done 3 releases before that, and not much had happened. And in that case, that one resulted in 1 article, and the ROI on that, altogether, I think even since then, their PR campaigns, doing it themselves and using us to distribute, hasn't even topped $5,000 in spend.
Wow, that's incredible. So let's break that down, right? And by the way, if you guys all or gals want to learn more about Mickie and everything he's doing, you go to eReleases.com, National Newswire Distribution Service, hyper-targeting, subscribing journalist, curation over quantity, featured in Bloomberg, National Journal, Wall Street Journal, CNN Money, so much more. Really just is kind of the best practices in the making eReleases simple for small businesses. Walk us through what it looks like to work with you guys in a real-time basis.
Right. So I have a lot of press release samples on our website. We do offer writing, but I tell people that you know your company best, and feel free to give it a try first and send it over to us, and ask our editors to take a look at it. We'll do that. Just allow a couple business days to get back to you with our thoughts on it, at no charge, whether you're using us at that moment or not. We really try to inspire people to sort of take charge and do it for themselves. How long and how often you should do releases really depends on the cadence of what you're willing to do and what milestones you have. I mean, I feel like anybody can come up with 4 to 6 ideas a year, even if they don't have much going on. So if you do have a lot going on, it could be considerably more. But I mentioned a PR campaign is 6 to 8 releases. If it takes you a year or even a little bit over a year to get there, that's fine. But you just want to stay committed and try different approaches. I do have a free masterclass where I talk through the types of press releases you should be doing. And anyone interested in that, it's completely free at eReleases.com/plan, PLAN. And it's less than an hour-long video with some accompanying materials, but it'll allow you to brainstorm the things that are working, because a lot of people say press releases don't work, and I would say 97% of press releases do not generate earned media. And the thing is, if you look at the 3% that do, and you build a PR campaign of that, in 6 to 8 releases, you'll probably have 3 to 6 releases get earned media if you focus on the 3% that are working. I had mentioned that, always make sure you have a story arc, inject a use case study. There's doing a survey or a study within your industry. That's the one press release I've never had fail. Always generates earned media, because you want to ask timely questions of your industry, take their temperature today on a topic or various topics. I use SurveyMonkey. I like 4 questions per page, 3 to 4 pages, so 12 to 16 questions. You can put some left field wild questions towards the end, because you've still got their results if they give up during the survey. And sometimes those fun ones are the ones that really get mileage when you get the results. You don't need a Rolodex of people in your industry to do a survey like that. There are lots of small and independent trade associations in every industry. Avoid the one that you know. It's the one that goes to, usually in charge of conferences and things like that. They're not going to see value in working with you, but there's lots of others. In PR, I had someone say, Mickie, that wouldn't work in our industry because there's only Public Relations Society of America. And I had to break it to this person who had 40-some years of experience that there was over 700 other public relations trade associations in the United States and Canada alone. And, some of them are very micro-niche, like Florida PR firms. Some are aligned to universities and things like that, people who went to certain universities. But there's some like, PR firms of 50 employees or less. And that probably is 80% of the industry. And you don't even realize that they're out there. Approach them and say, hey, could you send this link to your members? In exchange, I'll mention you in a press release going out over PR Newswire in the coming weeks. I do need at least 100 responses for it to be statistically relevant. And that's important, because if they send out an email or something and you get like 80 responses, you go back to them and say, hey, we didn't get the 100 that we need. I'd hate for you to lose this opportunity. They'll usually do a social media push or maybe even another email push. And I've always been able to get over that. More than 2/3 of the time, the first trade association I approach says yes, because they are often unknown, and they see this as value for them to get some publicity as well by being mentioned in the press release. And so it's a very, I think, easy way that seems more complicated than it is. And you just want to make sure that you ask questions that are, timely. And like, if you were going to a trade show, what are things that you might want to ask other people? Like, have you noticed lately that everybody's slow paying? Is there like, economic constriction in our industry? Are there concerns around AI replacing people in your industry? There might be questions around that. But, your industry well. Sort of brainstorm with yourself and others what would be really good questions to ask right now. And then when you get the results, figure out what the 2 or 3 big aha moments are and make the press release focus on that. But build a page on your website where you go through all the questions and answers, because sometimes a journalist will go there and they'll feel that there's a more important story with question number 7 that wasn't even mentioned in the press release. And so that becomes a real great resource for them. Make sure you have a great quote as to why you feel the numbers skewed a particular way, and you don't have to agree with it. Like if 70% of the people believe that AI is going to replace them in the next 5 years, you could say, I think this is a bit alarmist, but I do believe if you don't know how to use AI to complement your job, you'll be at a serious disadvantage in the future. And you're the author of the survey, so you're going to be seen as a thought leader in your industry. And as a result, you're going to get mentioned in most of these articles that get published around the survey.
Mickie Kennedy, everybody, giving us a mini masterclass on the power of press releases. And you can learn more about him going to eReleases.com. It's eReleases.com, where you can get started. Okay, so you mentioned, around $5,000, committing to this for, maybe 6-12 months, and working with your team, and coming up with, case studies and story arcs and writing it. So what else to add to that? And then we hire you, and then boom, you're distributing it out and you're helping it get out there. Is that a fair summary, or what am I missing?
That's correct. Most outlets are looking at the Newswire, PR Newswire and Business Wire for stories. And there's wires that you've heard of that aren't newswires of press releases, like the Associated Press, Reuters, and places like that. They don't transmit press releases. Everything that they transmit is written by them because they license it to other people. They work in a different model than the press releases. But I had a press release that we did during the pandemic. It was a grassroots effort to help restaurants that were closed during the pandemic, and it got picked up on Reuters, I think, and I think that resulted in over 100 newspapers writing, including that article in there, as well as the Wall Street Journal picked it up, and a lot of other places picked it up. And that's the real value of going over a newswire like PR Newswire. It is available to everyone, and I think that the reason that press release did so well, over 100 articles, and over $10 million was raised to help restaurants close during the pandemic, is because we felt powerless at home. And here was positive news at a time where there was a lot of uncertainty. We were sent home 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And here was something that if you had a favorite local restaurant that maybe you went for your anniversary, if the volunteers were able to get a hold of them, you could make a donation that went directly to help them.
Got it.
Keep it running. And it
I wonder
just
if we
did
could do,
really well.
I'm with you. I wonder if we can do like a live build for me, right? If that's okay, Mickie, and just
Sure.
give people an opportunity to see this. I'm going to share my website here, right? And so we're looking at this, and we have unlocked truly passive income and deferred capital gains. This is our company, Capital Gains Tax Solutions, right? And we try to do everything you're talking about, like have the client be the hero, right? Us be the guide. Their story, I can tell a story about Steve and how we helped him. I could do a story about Alvin and Darlene, how we helped them. They sold a farm in South Dakota. This is their son who helped them, introduce him to me. And we're at a conference right here. This is another client that sold a house in Los Angeles and sold a self-storage facility. So I look at these as like case studies, right? Yep. And so I share case studies. We have them on podcasts, all of those things. So what would be based upon, seeing something like this, what would be a press release that you think might be effective approach for services around capital gains tax deferral and such?
I would target specific audiences and make the press release specific to that. Franchise owners who've owned a franchise that's successful for 20 years, maybe speaking to them, and have a case study that would be most appropriate for them, and talk about the opportunity that they have. Maybe build something that I know she mentioned real estate. Maybe build a message and a press release that's specific for the real estate industry, and show some options for things you've done for people in that space. And it gets people thinking about a new opportunity that they weren't aware of, and opportunities that they can do that having someone with some expertise could do. I think another thing is you want to make sure that you have a quote by you in each of these press releases that is just a solid quote. I see 90% of the press releases that we get have a weak quote. And by weak, it's like it may be passive verbs. It may be saying something wordy. If you're going to, you don't have to be a wordsmith. It helps if you are, and you say something that just sounds beautiful. But that being said, just saying something as powerful and succinct as possible, that it can't be paraphrased any better than how you said it, and with as much conviction as you said it. And if a journalist is looking at two potential article ideas, and one has an amazing, strong quote, they know that they can write a good article for either, but that article is going to smack even better because of that quote. It's going to be in that article, and people don't realize that. And I just hate seeing the type of quotes that just seem like they've come out of committee or they were written by AI. And you could if you take the quote out, and the press release still reads the same. It wasn't a good quote, because you want to ache when you're like, ooh, it's missing those words that we took out. I said it so strongly and with such conviction, and it was just such a powerful quote. You want to make sure that you have that, because a journalist sees a strong quote and they start envisioning the article around it.
Awesome. Okay, so let me give you an example. So we just helped a CPA firm like a month ago exit his practice, multi-billion-dollar exit, defer a bunch of tax, and so maybe the article could be around what even CPAs don't know, right, about their exit, as an example, right? And then it could go into the story and his challenge, his building up the practice, and then him going to exit and having a good plan, and us coming in to help him with that. And
even the tax experts have to go to someone who is ultra specialized in this particular field to get the most bang for your buck. And it's one of those situations where every dollar you put in towards tax savings probably returns a factor of 1,000.
Okay, I got it. Right. And then to give a quote by the client, right?
Right.
And then, and what if they want to be anonymous?
That's problematic.
Okay, so they need to be willing to, because sometimes they want to be private.
Right.
So I guess that's the first thing you want to ask: are you willing to be open out there?
And I find that serial entrepreneurs are the ones that are most willing to be named, because they know it's only going to help them down the road.
Totally. So okay, but as an example, let's say he was okay being open and out there, right? And then this your CPA. So I would make it specific to CPAs, right? But I'm writing it to the journalist who is serving the CPA or the financial industry, right? So.
Correct.
So help me with that mindset shift there. So when I'm writing the article, who am I? I'm writing it for the journalist.
You're writing it for the journalist, so you're giving them the building blocks for them to write the article. You're not writing the finished article. But you want to make it compelling enough that they can envision this is going to create a really compelling article that other CPAs and people in the financial industry are going to really love this. They're going to feel like, wow, I bet they either didn't know this, so this is great education, or that you have an interesting, quirky tale that's a component of it that also adds a little entertainment value. Sometimes aligning those can be really exciting, and personalize it. I've had someone mention that they do a business, but they also on the side are a clown magician. And Inc. magazine thought that was funny enough, little side anecdote, that they got a picture of him in a clown outfit. But it obviously attracted the attention of Inc. magazine, which is a great pickup for something like that.
Okay, got it. Interesting. So again, you're giving them the building blocks for the journalist to. I think I didn't maybe catch that fully. I wasn't listening close enough. You're giving the building blocks, and saying, like, here's basically the script, but then go act it out or go actually execute it on it, right? But I don't even know if the script's the right word, but here are the characters, here are some of the quotes.
Here's the who, what, when, where, how, and why of what we're announcing. And you want to have it most entertaining, biggest hook at the beginning, ideally in the headline, and then the opening paragraph, and then just provide more corroborating evidence as you go down.
Got it. Now it's coming together for me. Got it. So you're providing that, and so then I would hire you, and I would provide a couple of those, right? Let's call it 8 to 10, and then you would put it out to these journalists who try to pick up. Then they could pick up, and then they could put it out to the big places. Is that a fair summary now?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. I think it's all coming back now. It's all coming together. Okay. This is cool. Everyone, Mickie Kennedy, everyone, you can learn more by going to eReleases.com. eReleases.com, for looking at the distribution packages that he has. What haven't I asked you, Mickie, that I should have asked you before we get to the lightning round?
I think that another thing that I get from a lot of people is sort of the imposter syndrome. I'm not big enough to matter yet, or I'm not important enough. Not a lot of people in my industry know about me. Well, that makes you even more attractive to journalists, because journalists don't get accolades and article shares when they're covering the Microsofts and Googles of the world or of your industry. They get the most shares of articles when it's somebody that no one knows about. Someone who's created a new tool or a piece of software or a solution or doing something in your industry that not a lot of people know about. Makes the journalist look more as a curator when they put a spotlight on someone that not a lot of people know. So sometimes people feel they're too small to matter, and often that is an advantage.
Awesome. Makes perfect sense. Let's move into the lightning round. You ready?
Sure.
All right. Knowing what you know now, Mickie, if you go back to your 20-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget make sure to tell yourself to do?
Buy Apple.
Question number 2. What are you most curious about right now?
Right now, I'm very interested in AI and where that's going to end up. Are we in a dot-com bubble? I don't think so, but I think things are going to change. I think that we're not seeing the true cost of AI right now because it's subsidized, and I wonder what's going to happen when the $19.99 a month goes to like $1,500 a month.
Gotcha. That's a great question. Next question. Number 1 leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by?
I guess for me, it's the golden rule. Treat people the way you'd want to be treated. All my staff are empowered to tell someone that we don't feel like we're a good fit. I don't want to take people's money knowing that it's very unlikely that anything is going to happen. And so I feel very empowered to tell people that, hey, you're in the supplement industry and the media is just not receptive to writing articles about supplements.
There it is. Love it. Biggest difference between SEO and a press release, or maybe the biggest misconception?
Well, the press release can have all the keywords and everything in it, but the Google pretty much doesn't treat it as an article, and it's duplicated on a lot of these places. It doesn't really give you any benefit. But when an article's written about you, that's huge benefit. It's an original article, and you get SEO benefit even when there's no URL. The New York Times writes about you. Google gives you credit because it's called an implied link. They have a patent for it where they can tell that this article is about you. It's from a major source, and your SEO will improve just by getting that holistic article written about you.
Awesome. Love it. Second to last question. Number 1, either AI tool that you're using now, or the one that you're using most?
I am probably using ChatGPT the most. Mm-hmm. And I played around with it this weekend with my daughter, and I found that 4.0 was giving me much better results than I think it was 5.2 or the latest.
Interesting. Okay, good to know. Last question. After all your help helping all the businesses you've helped get exposure and press releases, what's the best way that you stay centered in your values and stay encouraged to reach even higher heights after all your success?
I think for me, it's just making a difference and giving the opportunity to anybody that's out there and try to empower them to do it themselves. I know that PR firms can charge a fortune, and a lot of them, don't do the types of releases that I think could make a difference. Like doing an industry survey is a no-brainer. It's guaranteed earned media, and yet I don't see a lot of professionals doing it on behalf of their clients.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Amazing. Mickie Kennedy, I want to thank you for being on the show, on the podcast, and sharing your wisdom and insights with us, giving us practical tools on really the easy way to get press releases, right? Or, hiring and working with the team to work through these things, making it simple, I guess is a better way to think about it. Not necessarily easy, but it is simple if you just do the process that Mickie has laid out. For our listeners who want to get in touch with you, could you mind one last time, what's the best place for them to find you?
It's at eReleases.com. All our social media is there, including my direct LinkedIn. And again, that free masterclass is a great place to start. eReleases.com/plan, PLAN.
Awesome. Thanks, Mickie. I also want to thank all of our listeners and viewers for listening or watching another episode of the Build to Billions podcast. Also streaming on Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. Hey, we're on this journey with you to scale from millions to billions so we can give more all the way to help MVP's most vulnerable people. I want to encourage you to take action today to build your business by hiring a team like Mickie to get massive press, right? So you can get out there and change the world with what the service that you're providing as a business owner. Start today. And of course, if you have a large exit after you build up your business and or Bitcoin or real estate, multiple millions of gains, and you're looking at a huge capital gains tax, we have a solution for you. It's called capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Go there and we can build a capital gains tax exit plan that helps you to defer tax, multiply freedom and impact. Go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. And of course, look for the book that we released with Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank called Building a Capital Gains Tax Exit Plan on Amazon as well. Appreciate you listening or watching out there, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Bye now.